Really excited for this morning's manager training management camp class. Call it like a master if you want to. When me and Laura were really designing this class, we've got the ATMs with the agent training manual, but there's nothing like when you can physically be amongst other leaders. So I'm really excited about the delivery for today's call because I've started reading some things, and I was in Alaska and I started reading another book. And I've read this book before, called The Tipping Point, and I learned something very unique. And the crazy thing is, there wasn't this massive chapter about this one subject. And when I found this subject inside this book, I went down a rabbit hole. Now, if you know me, you understand that I like to go down rabbit holes. So today's topic for the MTM camp, for all of you folks, for all of you leaders, is your net work is your net worth. So let me ask you guys this. Why wouldn't you want to go to the next level and elevate everything when it comes to your infinite game of really physically going to the next level in your life, becoming a different you, becoming the you that you want to be, or potentially just having this absolutely incredible, strong 7-figure kind of an income when it comes to a business empire? So what I'm going to teach you today is going to do just that. Take notes, because I'm only going to break down 2 things for you. And I really believe when I look at the 10 years that I've been with NESB since 2013, I say to myself, oh my gosh, I have been doing this one thing for years, and it has legit brought me millions. So check this out. I want you to first understand that this is not a strategy. This is a way of life. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I cannot be an extrovert. Actually, I cannot be a type A or type B personality. Nope, I'm not talking about that. Well, I'm just not that type of person, Ashley. No, we're not talking about that. I'm not talking about you becoming a different person, but what I am. And I remember Jordan, for a couple times this year, when I would do coachings with him and Greg Baden, they would constantly tell me the exact same thing, which is, Ashley, go find leaders. Ashley, go find leaders. You can't create leaders, you got to go find them. And I'm like, okay, all right, now, I'm looking at the last quarter, I'm looking at the last semi-annual, looking at the progress report here. And they just say the same darn thing, go find leaders. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, all right, how can I harness what they're telling me and going and finding leaders, right? And you're thinking, well, gosh, Ashley, why are you still getting coaching from them? Are you kidding me? Because I have so much more to learn, so much more to grow, so much when it comes to becoming what? The best and most natural part of the potential that's inside of me is dying to keep coming out. Keep finding leaders. Where do we get those leaders from? Does that make sense? Okay. So we're not talking about, recruiting at all. We're not talking about recruiting. So what are we going to be talking about today, Ashley? It's really into the network that you create and then the network that you keep. That's it. So the network that you create and then the network that you keep. That's really ultimately going to be creating your net worth. So check this out. We all know when we're looking at cold market, 1 out of 50, right? Going to stick. And then when you're looking at warm market and money market, typically it's anywhere from 1 out of 3, 1 out of 5, right? Your warm market consisting of your buddies, your friends, your close friends, family. And then there's that money market, and that's everybody else, right? That's everyone else, maybe potentially the bartender, that the favorite bar that you like to go to, the post office, they're acquaintances, okay? So if I ask you a question right now, and I want you to go ahead and put it in the chat, which do you think has the most leaders coming from, whether it's cold market, warm market, or money market? So go ahead and put in the chat right now, because I want to hear from you guys. And like I said, from the book, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, he says this, and this is going to blow your mind. Okay, good job. I see a lot of warm market, money market. Good job. So check this out. You ready? It's going to blow your mind. I'm telling you, because when I read this in this book, I was like, what? And it's only like 1 page in this book. The majority of your greatest connections will come from weak ties, not strong ties. Let me repeat this. Malcolm says this in his book. The majority of your greatest connections will come from weak ties, not strong ties. When he did all these studies, 56% of the people that found a job found it through a weak connection. Now, I'm not talking about that connection being weak. I'm saying it was a weak tied connection. And so what I want to teach you today is how to be a master of the weak tie. So if you've never heard that before, I'd never heard that before, But here's the thing, your friends, your family members, what they do is they already occupy typically the same world that you do. You guys do the same activities. If you like to boat, you've got boating friends. If you've got friends that, like to hang out on a Friday night and go salsa dancing, well, guess what? You're gonna hang out with buddies that like to go salsa dancing. Typically, friendships exist because you like to do the same activities. But what acquaintances do is they have a source of a social power that, check this out, the more acquaintances that you have, the more powerful that you are. And you're like, Ashley, I'm not understanding this. How is it that we can create a network of acquaintances? And then how can you keep that network and continue expanding on it so that, not that it works in your favor. See, that's not the thing. And that's what I'm going to teach you folks, is that when I've looked at my career over the past 10 years with NASB and just having an incredible journey with this company, and I look forward to the next 10 years, the next 20 years, but then I look at my life and the network that I've been able to create. And let me tell you a story. So this was just a couple weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago. We took a Alaskan cruise. It was a bucket list item for my family. Man, we took our in-laws, we took my parents, brothers, sisters. We had a great time, okay? And so here's the neat thing, is that we went to this place in Victoria, Canada. And what I always like to do is I always like to research what is the best restaurant in this place. Wherever I go, I always want to make sure that the atmosphere, if I could have some influence on that atmosphere, I want to make sure that my family or my friends, whoever's with me, that they have an incredible experience. So I found out this place called The Local, and people raved about it. So we walked there right off the cruise ship, and it was gorgeous. I mean, you talk about plants and flowers. You could smell the amazing flowers 50 yards. It was that amount of flowers that were at this place, and it was packed. And so we go in, and there's a guy at the door, and I'm thinking maybe he works there, maybe he doesn't. Doesn't really matter to me. And I just start talking to him, and I'm like, what's the best thing on the menu? What do you like most about this place? And no joke, the guy's the owner of the restaurant. So the moment I found out about it, I didn't get googly-eyed, but what I said is, hey, that's cool. That's really awesome. What is, did you make up this menu? What is the best part about this menu? Why would I want to come here? We just came off the cruise ship, and we just started to connect. And so that is really what I want to talk about, is the fact that when I was able to go into this atmosphere, no joke, this gentleman, his name is Roger. He was a rugby player for Canada, right? One of the top rugby players. And we just connected. We had a great time. He took care of my family as if it was his family. Even to the point of I said, go grab a beer, come sit with us. We were laughing, carrying on, having a great time. But here's a couple of things that when you're really physically looking at this, what is that type of person called? So how can you influence an atmosphere that will expand your network? You got to become a connector. Please write that down. You have to become a connector, because connectors bring the world together. And what you do is you find people that are fascinating, people that have nothing to do with some motive that you have. No, there's no motive there whatsoever. You just find the world to be fascinating, right? Like, I genuinely wanted to understand the backbone of this menu. You talk about a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It was like this big in Victoria, Canada, right? They had Philly cheesesteaks. I know, crazy. But what a connector is they are a master of a weak tie. That's what they do. So much so that this guy, Roger, felt my entire family free t-shirts from his cool restaurant. No joke, right? To get 13 people in a busy, crowded restaurant, he was able to make that happen, right? How was that able to happen? You know, a couple of qualities when it comes to a connector. Number one is, if you don't have these qualities or these characteristics, then go become and embrace those characteristics so that you're not missing out or preventing this incredible lifestyle for you because you're not willing to connect and become a connector. Number one, you got to be curious. Be curious of the world around you. Be curious of the people that are around you. Live intentional, genuine, and authentic platform. What the heck does that mean? That means, are you really operating out of who you are or who you want to be known as? Because, okay, that's what people will see. I'm not talking about your persona. I'm talking about the real, authentic you. I genuinely, absolutely love getting to know people. Why? Not because it's going to work in my favor, not because, hey, maybe I could hire that person and they could become the next Jordan Smith or the next Greg Baden, or this person could be the next Laura Sisko. No, I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking that whatsoever. It's almost as if, as an agent, you go to the door and you have this commission breath. It's the same thing with connectors. If you've got this commission breath about you that's fake, people are going to pick up on it immediately. You see, the world relies on connectors. Why? The world relies on connectors because they give us access to opportunities that we normally wouldn't have found on ourselves, right? All of us know connectors. All of us know. Maybe potentially there's somebody on this Zoom call right now that connected you to North American Senior Benefits. Or maybe you married somebody because there was a connector that had informed that relationship for you two. They don't bend to please or forfeit their values or standards just to appease somebody else. They don't do that. They're not people pleasers. And you would think that as a connector that you would be a people pleaser, that, oh, well, everybody has to like you because you have so many different dynamics of relationships with people. No, that's not it at all. It's the ability to connect to somebody, but not forfeiting your values or your standards or your principles. Can you be adaptable? Can you be a chameleon? Can you be relatable to them? Can they see that you're genuine about your passion for food, right? Or that you're genuine about maybe this vacation or this travel? Everywhere we went, I'm like a little kid at a candy store. I love being able to just go somewhere and say, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Are you the owners of this little bakery here? When we were in, I think it was Juneau, Alaska, man, we went to the best bakery place for breakfast. And again, I didn't know that they were the owners until afterwards. No joke, they wanted to sell us their restaurant. Being a connector, you have no idea the power of it. I had to like weasel my way away from these people because they were so incredibly nice. We had such a great time. And they said, please, we want you to buy this other half to our building. And I'm like, I'm not even from Alaska. For an act to be contagious, there must be an igniter or a contagion. I'll repeat that. For an act to be contagious, there must be an igniter or a contagion. To igniting that contagion inside of you. And I know that sounds kind of weird, like, oh my gosh, we're going to ignite a disease. No, we're going to ignite just this contagion for you to be contagious out there as you're creating these relationships with other people that you find super duper fascinating. And they're very different than you. You've got to be able, if you want to be a multiplier, if you want to multiply your empire and your company, then are you a multiplier? Right? To multiply your company, you've got to be a multiplier. You have to be a connector. Do you have something that is worth value to another person for it to be multiplied? And that's where you kind of have to look at your inner self, right? This is why I love semi-annual coaching, quarterly coaching, because it gives you the ability to have your coach, your mentor, kind of expose your blind spots, right? Here's a couple things that I just want you to jot down. Number one, when it comes to creating that network, how do we do it, right? You talk about it, Ashley, but how do I become that connector? Number one, you start by becoming the person you want to become. That's number one. That's called an internal awareness, where you say to yourself, okay, do I have something that somebody would actually genuinely see that I'm authentic and I'm real and I have a love for whatever they're talking about, to be relatable to them? We cannot ask our agents to do something that we're not willing to do or become, right? You can tell an agent to be organized, but are you organized? You can tell an agent, hey, listen, maybe an agent that is also wanting to be a builder. Hey, well, this is what you need to do. You need to go on corporate Indeed, and you need to go ahead and call 50 resumes a month to really find that one awesome dynamic agent that could be that rock star agent for you. But if you're not doing interviews, why would they believe you? Number two, become the center of influence, not the center of attention. Whoa, that's a big one for a lot of people. You know, for a lot of you that really know me, it's not about me being the center of attention at all. If you've ever been in an environment with me, a connector shapes the environment. They create this environment because the people that are coming into this environment, potentially are the ones that are being influenced. So in other words, be the center of influence, not the center of attention. You're not the spotlight. You're not. Again, if you've come to my house, I just had a big, Anchors Away, Fun Day, Sunday, whatever you want to call it, just a couple days ago. I allowed the atmosphere to be exciting, had the music going. We had the kids that were happy. We had a nice little water slide going on, and people were excited. There's no motive for me when bringing people together or meeting people. It's not you that stands out. It's the experience that should stand out. That when they come or leave this house, that they can say, man, that was awesome. I love being a part of this. Find a reason to connect to people. Find a reason to connect with people. Number 4, find out what the pain, the problems, plans, or projects that can connect you with the right people. Now, wait a minute, hold on one second. Have you ever realized, if you ever ask me something, I typically will probably say, let me connect you to this person, pretty much help you with this pain. Or, hey, let me connect you with this person because you have a home building project. Let me go ahead and refer this person out to you. Isn't that amazing? Because again, remember I told you that connectors connect the world to everybody else. The world relies on people like us. And if you say, well, I can't be that person. Yes, you can. You can be that. This is not a gift. This is not a strategy. This is just a way of life. Almost you have this boldness about you, but not this, arrogance about you. It's this confidence, but not arrogance. Pride, but not arrogance. Be able to find it fascinating to me, and people can feel that. It's almost like for you builders that have a new agent. Don't you find it exciting when you can have somebody that has this excitement of being a brand new agent, and they're just fascinated by our presentation, or they're fascinated by making a sale for the first time, and they're so excited? You see, that's how I am when it comes to meeting people for the first time. The second component, which wraps everything together, which is the network that you keep, right? Okay, it's really cool to, create a network, expand that network, but when it comes to the network that you keep, what are we looking at here? And I was talking to Jordan about this because I love picking Jordan's brain or Greg Baden's brain. And you don't buy, if you're gonna buy a house, and I know John and Laura, they're incredible investors and they look at homes and stuff like that. That's, more of like a side thing. And here's the cool thing, because you want your money to work for you as you continue to have a lot of cash flow. Don't buy the most expensive home on the block. Why? If you buy the most expensive home on the block, guess what? The value of your home goes down. It pulls the value of your home down because you're the most expensive house on the block. So what do? You want to find pretty much one of the lowest value houses in the highest value neighborhood. Why? Because what it does is that lower value of a house pulls up the value of your house. It's the same thing when it comes to your sphere of influence. You should not be the most incredible, the most wealthiest, the most smartest person in your peer group or in your acquaintance group or your sphere of influence. If you are, what are you learning? How are you moving up? How are you getting pulled up? How are you more of the person and the potential that's inside of you? How is that coming out of you? Unless you're with people that are what? Different than you. So in other words, who's pulling you up or who's pulling you down? And there are people right now that you are allowing them to pull you down, or are you allowing them to pull you up? Some of you right now, maybe you had an agent that left you. Did you burn the bridge? Were you a passive aggressive? Were you just mean and nasty to them? Right? Did you follow up with those people that might have potentially quit? Or maybe potentially an acquaintance that you haven't talked to in a long time. Acquaintances, you do gotta stay in touch with them. You gotta stay in touch with them. And it might be once a year that you might see them. But I'm gonna be able to say, hey, thank you so much. The last time that we were here at this restaurant, man, we go to this one Italian restaurant in Wilmington. The owner loves my husband. Not like that, but like she just is so Italian and she just will sit with us and have a good time with us. And again, staying in touch with people, giving those compliments. You look at Chad Milner. Boy, you talk about a guy that has so many connections. He actually talked to a lot of integrity partners and he said, we want to get a gift for Brian Adams, the CEO of Integrity Marketing Group. And what he did is he said, hey, look, we want to get him this Rolex that he's always wanted at $60,000. Chad Milner created this ripple effect, as you might want to call it, this act of kindness. But what it did, being able to make that happen, And then to present that Rolex on stage in front of all integrity partners just a couple months ago, do you think that that did something? Or maybe it elevated the way Brian Adams thought about Chad Milner, our founder of NESB? So grateful for that. You don't have to have all of the world's greatest characteristics, all of the greatest attributes. I know we strive for it, but your network can. Your network can. Have you not realized it? If you look at every single person, I've got about 11 directs on my front line. Did you know that every single one of them are super duper unique, super duper different than me? See, some of you folks, you're hiring down, which is lowering the value of your company. But what you should be doing is hiring up so you create a higher value for your company. And again, it's the concept of what value do you bring to that sphere of influence, to that connections that you have with other people. How is your network or the net worth of your network, what's its appraisal right now? Okay. So do you hire down because you're intimidated, because you're afraid of what somebody else might think about you? Look at Jordan's team. I remember asking Jordan, I said, you know, when you look at your team, Jordan, the people that you have on your front line, who are those people? He said, Ashley, I hired up. He said, you look at Keith Thomason, that guy's got more experience than me, more wisdom than me. He said, I wanted him in my company because he was way stronger than me. Okay, maybe not physically, maybe physically, I don't know, but he was different than Jordan. He said, Ashley, everybody on my front line is different than me because they have my blind spots. They have the areas that they have already improved on that I'm still working on. Isn't that a neat thing to have? You don't want people that are just like you. Yes, you do want, somewhat of the same similar characteristics of grit and work ethic, coachability, studentship. Your network doesn't benefit you right then. It's similar to a return on investment. You make the connection, but to keep the connection, understand that the return on investment happens by keeping the network. And Ashley, are you talking about return on investment of them becoming a business partner of you? No. But maybe it's a connection through a connection that somebody found through somebody. You see, I found Jonathan Jones because of my very, very good close friend who happens to be a realtor that knew a guy that worked in car sales that knew Jonathan Jones. Hello? So these connectors that connect all these people. And again, the goal is to expand that network, but you got to be able to keep that network. People will sense if you're keeping relationships out of selfish reasons. For example, just like what I said, you will attract that what you are. So if you are that person that's a gossiper, a backstabber, somebody that talks behind people's back, just a unnatural leader, trying to be a wannabe leader, people will sense that and they'll pick it up. And that's what you will attract. But if you will become a person that is of influence, of character, of genuineness, somebody that really, man, I enjoy being around this person and they're real and authentic, guess what? That's what you're going to be able to attract. Understanding that the network that you create, becoming a connector, understanding the qualities of what a connector has, but then also understanding the power of keeping that network. Going to that restaurant that you just absolutely love the restaurant owner, or going to a new restaurant, making new connections. Wherever you go, a Starbucks in South Carolina to Florida over here. Man, did you know I was on a flight to Seattle, and as you guys know, my father-in-law, he's battling stage 4 cancer, and I was just talking to the flight attendant, having a great time. We were just, kind of talking about why he wanted to become a flight attendant. Found it very fascinating. And the neat thing is we just got to talking, told him about my father-in-law. You want to talk about being able to serve him. The entire flight staff wrote a letter to my father-in-law, able to go into an atmosphere and to create these incredible moments with the people that you love. Oh my gosh, it's powerful. So I hope, folks, that you have gotten a lot of ammunition out of today's talk. Your network is your net worth. So go think differently about the people that you are meeting today.